y'all? It's your girl, Ariza, a licensed clinical social worker, your test prep guru, your personal hype squad, whatever you need me to be to help you pass that LCSW and that LMSW exam. I've helped dozens of people do it, and now it's my turn to help you. So this is your one-stop shop to level up, to learn the tools, the strategies, and get the confidence you need so you can level up and pass this exam. Today, I'm going to be talking about a topic that is, I'm not going to lie, not one of my favorite, but it's pretty easy to understand and to comprehend. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper, and we're going to be talking about the micro, the macro, and the mezzo levels of social work and how you can apply it to the ASWB exam and why it's important to understand and why it's important to know. And then, of course, you know, I got those test prep questions for you. So I'm standing up today, so I'm excited and I'm ready to go ahead and give you this knowledge so you can go ahead and tap in and be ready. I love it. I love it. I love it when you guys are in the comment section and you're telling me about your wins and how you just passed your exam. And it just brings me so much excitement. So without further ado, let me go ahead and jump in and share my screen. So we're going to be talking about the micro, the mezzo, the macro practice for the ASWB, LCSW, and LMSW exam. If you understand the distinctions between the micro, the mezzo, and the macro levels of social work, it's crucial for you as a LMSW, future LMSW, and future LCSW to have this knowledge so you know how to apply it to the exam and what it's actually asking you and how you can actually use it. These levels pretty much describe the scope and the focus of social work interventions and are foundational to many of the questions you're going to get on the exam. And I'm going to show you how and I'm going to show you why. So just stick with your girl. All right. It sounds like a rap song, the micro, the mezzo, the macro. You know, I had that little New Yorker in me and it's just kind of like hearing that, saying it over and over. I started to kind of break out and do a freestyle. And then I realized those days are definitely over. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with this test prep. All right. So let's talk about micro practice. Micro practice, as you can see the definition there, just trying to find a way to simplify it for you guys. It's basically like the individual or the minimum size of interactions you'll do with clients. So when I say minimal size, meaning you might work with them in a family setting or you might work with them in an individual setting, but anything over and beyond that, you're moving to another level of practice. So when I think of micro, let's think of small. It involves direct practice with the clients where you're addressing their personal issues, providing therapy, counseling, case management, but it's pretty much like a one-on-one type ordeal. So some key points to understand here is that you focus on the individual or a very small group, and it also involves direct interaction. So you as the social worker are engaging with them a lot more closely than you would in other levels. It often includes like you doing the assessment, you diagnosing the client, you're doing some treatment planning, you're doing some therapy. All of these things require you to have a more personalized connection or approach with your clients. So let me give you an example here. Which of the following interventions is most appropriate for a social worker using a micro practice approach when dealing with a client suffering from depression? Is it A, advocating for mental health policy reform at the national level? B, is it conducting a one-on-one cognitive behavioral therapy session? C, is it organizing a community health awareness event? Or D, is it developing a program for unemployed individuals in the community? What are your thoughts? Are you studying for the LCSW or LMSW exam? Don't waste time on the wrong prep. Try my test prep program for free with a full module that gives you the real strategies, the real practice, and real results. Plus, you get access to my exclusive test prep community where you'll find support, study material, and accountability. No risk, no stress, just results. Click the link in the bio so you can get ready to win with the winning team. Damn, you guys are so smart. You are absolutely right. It is B. It is conducting a one-on-one cognitive behavioral therapy session with the client. Again, we're talking about the micro level. So I'm sure you guys were able to get it. And remember, my videos are not meant to trick you up or make things difficult or complex. I know you guys are like, oh my God, the exam questions are going to be so much harder, but it doesn't matter. If you know how to dissect the information and understand the information and have a really good concept, it doesn't matter what question they throw your way. You'll be able to tackle it and handle it at the knowledge level you are at when the time allows. So just stick with me, focus on these things, and I'm sure as you develop these concepts and grow and feel more confident in your walk, you'll be more than fine, no matter how hard or how easy the question may be. Now let's talk about that mezzo practice. Mezzo social work practice targets a smaller group or institutions such as schools, neighborhoods, or other small communities. I'm gonna throw churches in there. It kind of bridges the gap between the micro and the macro level of practices. So some key points here would be, you focus on small to medium-sized groups or communities. It involves interventions like group therapy, support groups, or organizational change. And it often works with institutions or community settings to help implement these changes. So let me back up a little bit. When it says often works within, we're talking about you. Yes, you, the social worker. If you're practicing on the mezzo level, you are pretty much working with these institutions, these community settings. You're doing support groups, group therapy. You're helping in the organization create some type of change. And you're pretty much dealing with a small size group or a small size community. You're not at a large span, but you're definitely not doing that individual micro level practice with that one-on-one. So here goes a question. In a school setting, which intervention best exemplifies a mezzo level practice? Is it A, providing an individual counseling to a student? Is it B, developing a bullying prevention program for the entire school? Or C, lobbying for statewide educational policy changes? Or D, conducting a workshop for parents on child development? So I'm taking this quiz with you guys. So let me think. We're in a school setting and we're talking about the mezzo level of practice. So what are we thinking the answer should be? Twist sticking up. All right, you guys got it. In this case, the answer is B. Again, yes, we are developing a bullying prevention program for the entire school. So the entire school, yes, it is larger than an individual, larger than a family, but it's not like the entire district. It is just the entire school. So you're working with a mezzo level of practice. I think you guys got what I'm throwing at you. All right, so let's talk about that macro practice. Macro practice in social work involves interventions and strategies at a much larger scale. It's often like a community, state, or national level. It includes policy advocacy, community organizing, and large-scale social reform. So when I think of this level, I'm thinking of how we as social workers or individuals, some of us are involved in different things in our life. Like, I'm involved in my sorority. I'm involved in things that my children have going on. So sometimes, not necessarily as in my social worker capacity, I do things on a mezzo and a macro level. And when I'm working with my clients at work, it's on a micro level. So you see yourself working in all these different levels. So it's just important to understand. I like to think about it as size: micro, small, mezzo, medium, macro, kind of large. So just kind of think like macro magnifying. So think of these terms if you're trying to figure out how to learn and how to understand these different levels of how you can use these words and play on them, and it helps you understand. All right, so if we're working on a larger scale, let's just see how this works out. Let's learn some of the key points and then we'll get into another question. So the key points here when you're working on a macro level, we're pretty much focusing on a large scale, normal social processes. It involves policy making, advocacy, program developments, very similar to things you do on the mezzo level, but this is at a larger scale. All right, and it often works through or with organizations to kind of influence systematic change. And again, when I say often works, you, the social worker, often works through or with organizations to influence that systematic change. So that is pretty much what you're doing as a social worker when you're working on the macro level of social work. All right, let's go ahead and see how we can knock out this question. Which of the following is a macro level intervention? Facilitating a support group for bereaved spouses, conducting a community needs assessment to guide city planning, providing therapy to individuals with PTSD, advocating for changes in national healthcare policy to improve access to mental health services. And we're going to answer this question a little differently, guys. So first, let's look at number one, facilitating a support group for bereaved spouses. What would that be? We know it's not macro, but what would it be? Would it be mezzo or would it be micro? Mezzo, you're right. It's middle level. If I was working facilitating an individual session or family session or something like that with bereaved spouses, then we're looking more at the micro level. But since we're doing a specific group, but it's a larger group than working at the micro level, we're looking at the mezzo level of social work. So hopefully this is kind of coming together for you. B, conducting a community needs assessment to guide city planning. So in here, we're working with a larger community, a larger group, and it's dealing with like city planning and those types of things. However, it is not on a large scale where we may be working with the whole state or the whole on the national level. So we're still looking at that mezzo level of social work. So you can see mezzo is very popular in how we really work when it comes to social work. We probably find ourselves doing a lot of things on the micro and macro level. Micro and mezzo level. All right, C, providing therapy to individuals with PTSD. So again, it doesn't say I'm providing therapy as a group with individuals, a group of individuals with PTSD. It says I'm providing therapy to individuals with PTSD. So maybe I'm a therapist in practice and I work with individuals who struggle with signs and symptoms of PTSD, and I kind of help them with some interventions and so forth. That is still working on the micro level. I have a specific niche. However, I'm working with them on an individualized level. So that is micro. All right, so the answer obviously has to be D, advocating for changes in national health care. That national word just did it for me. So for me, I'm not even going through the question. I'm like, changes in national health, boom, national is the word, D, and I'm moving on to the next question. Because I don't believe in spending a lot of time and energy on something that's going to trick me up or make me think twice or make me feel like, oh, it could be this, it could be that. And I've talked to you guys a lot about this in the coaching groups and the individual sessions. I've told you guys that you have to learn how to recognize what is the correct one a lot faster than pausing on that plausible one, which that happens all the time. I see people studying and they're answering questions and they're doing stuff and they kind of lean towards the plausible answer. And that's not something that I would want you to do or you would want to do because you're trying to pass the exam. So some of the things we work on is a strategy to know how this is definitely this versus this, because you're always going to lean between two options. And what I see is people always go with their first gut, but then as they go through it, they're like, well, could be this. Oh, maybe it's this because of that. Then they start rereading the question 3, 4, 5 times. No, you either know it or you don't know it. When it's time for game day and you're at that test, you answer it and you keep it moving. We're not going to play those games and go back and forth. That is why preparation makes it easier and better when you're taking the exam. So in conclusion, if you understand these 3 levels of practice, it's going to help you identify the most appropriate interventions based on the scope and scale of the issue at hand. And again, the key to here is the most appropriate interventions. Again, we're talking about these questions that come up all the time. We have the first, the next, the best, the most. So when you're working with interventions, normally you're not leaning towards the first. It's not a question that's going to say, what is the first? Because the first thing you do is not going to jump in and intervene. So you're not likely going to be focused on these different levels of social work because you're building rapport, you're building a connection, you're information gathering, you're trying to figure out where do we go from here? What do we need? Maybe this client needs an individual session or maybe they need a group session. Or maybe they need to be referred out to a larger organization, a community that can assist them better. So that's how I want you to think about it. When it says identifying the most appropriate interventions, that lets you know right then and there we're intervening and we need to figure out what's going to be the best at hand when dealing with this specific client. So for the ASWBs, LCSW and LMSW exam, being able to categorize and choose interventions across these different levels is really, really important. And it demonstrates you have a comprehensive understanding of social work practice in its totality. And that is what I want to see you guys. I want to see you guys win. You know, I say it all the time. I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short, but all I do is want to see is win, 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 win. All right. So you guys make sure you like, subscribe, share with a friend. I'm loving the comments. Tell me how you're learning, what works for you. A lot of you guys are giving me ideas on videos and what you want to see more of. And I'm taking it all in. Of course, I got to share it with my people in the community and my people in the course first. However, I'm definitely coming out to you guys on YouTube for showing me so much love and helping me grow this passion of mine. So until the next one, be blessed. And I hope you have an amazing day.